Okay, so I think it's 9:30 sharp. I guess we all start. Welcome to this October Exportia Lab. And so this Exportia Lab happens every month and on a different topic. And basically this topic of this month, the topic of the month is sales agent networks and why they're a great way to accelerate your sales in Europe. And it's little known, like it's a topic that people are not always aware of. So I'm very keen to explore that with you all, and welcome to everyone. So imagine if you could set up a sales force through Europe without having to set up a subsidiary, without having to pay payroll tax and employ people. So imagine how easy and convenient that would be as a small business. And the great thing is you could, at a European country level, you could also have a very good coverage of that country. So you could in Italy or in France or in Germany, you could have a very, very good network, a very good sales coverage with all those sales agents. So imagine if you could set that up in Europe, wouldn't it be wonderful? So that's what we're going to focus on today. So just a bit about me. Most of you know me, so I'm going to go very quick. So 20 years of sales experience in Europe, with the track record in taking Australian companies to the European market and scaling them. I've set up a number of sales agents networks in Europe, and my team and myself are managing 75 plus international distributors at the moment. You know, I'm a starving author. And this is my second book, so some of you have received it already or are in the process of receiving one. Let me know if you haven't. But what we really do here at Exportia is we scale businesses. We sell tech products to the construction industry, to healthcare, to wastewater treatment, to the car industry in Europe. So we really, really sales people. I originally worked for IBM in France, where I managed a very large turnover of 40 million euros with a large bank. So that's a bit of my background. And then in 2006, migrated to Australia in Adelaide to set up my business Exportia, to assist Australian small and medium business set up in Europe. So, and that's what we've been doing with Exportia over the last 14 years. So why are we here today? I think that setting up a sales agent network in Europe is just a great way and a perfect way for small businesses to actually access resources and sales resources for small businesses. It's a great way for small businesses to scale in Europe. I think it's an excellent way. It's relatively low risk in comparison to other options. That's why I like to look at them. And one of the reasons is, if I share with you the story of one of my customers in Queensland, for example, when they did set up in the German market, what they did is the traditional way, where they set up a business and then they hire a senior sales manager with a lot of experience. And what happens is, after 6 to 12 months, they found out that that person wasn't performing and they were not getting the sales that they were expecting from that person. So what happened is that they had to dismiss that person. But what you have to know is, when you employ in Europe, the workplace laws, particularly in countries like in Germany or in France or even in Spain or Italy, the cost of dismissal is quite high. You have to pay quite a lot of indemnity. It's not an easy process. It takes a lot of time. And that client in Brisbane that had appointed that senior manager in Germany had to pay 250K. Okay, so that's quite when you don't have any sales and you have to dismiss someone and you still have to pay 250K, it's quite a large amount of money. Okay, so I think that's why sales agents are a good option. So let me take you through what we're going to go through today. Today we're going to go through 8 points, a framework of 8 key points. So what are sales agents first? What is their traditional role? How do you contractualize with them? The fact that they take all sorts of shapes and form, and how to find them is always a big question. How do you evaluate and recruit them is another common question. And also, I think the timing of recruiting them is important. And last is how you manage your agents. And if you set up a network of sales agents in Europe, how do you kind of manage them all together? So let's start with what are they? What are those sales agents? So just a bit of definition. A sales agent is a sales representative that works independently. She or he run or his or her business. They're independent, they run their own business. So they're not gonna report to you like an employee because they have their own agenda and they run their own business. Usually their focus is regional. It's in the traditional way. So if you're in a very large country, large market like Germany or France or even the UK, they will often only focus on their region. If you're in a small country like Denmark or even Austria, maybe you'll have just one sales agent that can cover nationally. Okay, but most of the time they stay in their region. They can either be an individual, so just a one-man band, one-woman band, or there may be an agency that has multiple sales agents. That can also be the form. So what's their traditional role? And guys, feel free to send some question in the chat if you'd like to do that. You're welcome to do that. So what's their traditional role? Mainly they traditionally drive around all week and they call in customers. So they traditionally would visit distributors. That's their traditional role. So they would go to a distributor with a set of product and talk to them about the product. Sometimes they are a bit more end user focused, and that's a type in our portfolio of clients that we're talking to, because a lot of you are in tech, in the technology sector. We really like them to also go and visit end user, not only distributors. And they can do that. It's not always their comfort zone, but they can also do that. They also have a portfolio of products that they sell that are complementary to your product. So they usually have a set of products that they sell and not only just one product. Contractualizing. So it's quite easy actually once you found the sales agent to contractualize with them. So every European country has their own local federation or local association of sales agent, and they usually specify a set of rules by which you can engage with the sales agent. So just follow the rules, follow the guidelines. So what you can do is actually ask your prospective sales agent to give you their sales agent contract. It's pretty standard, and it's usually a very simple contract. And I'll go through the different points with you. So first of all, you need to agree on the commission to remunerate your agent. It's usually between, depending on the, do you have a large capital asset or do you have a product with a smaller price point? it's usually between 5 to 10%. It can be lower than that if you're on a very large capital assets. It can be 2%. All right. So that's the first thing you need to agree on and be comfortable with. They usually only paid commission only, and they usually don't have any retainer. Okay. That's a normal way of dealing with them. The other contractual terms you would have in those contracts is you would define their territory. Is that just a region? Is that a product range? And you define the product range, and then you also would give them a trial period. So you'd say, okay, we'll engage a sales agent, but we will give ourselves 3 to 6 months of trial period to see if they are any good. All right. What is also fairly common is if you want to stop the relationship with them, which is quite common, not what is quite common, but it can be predefined in the agreement in advance, and I would recommend that you do that. So set up what will the exit be if you ever had to finish the agreement with them. And for example, I know that the French Federation usually recommend that the indemnity at the end of the contracts is usually 2 years of commissions. Okay, so you can actually provision for that and check that. Well, if they have been working for you for a while, right? Because if they're only on 1 year, you can negotiate less than that. The other thing is that you need to make sure in your contractualization is make sure that they are actually multi-brand. They're not just selling your product. If they are only selling your product, you're a bit exposed, because at any time they can say, well, actually, I'm only working for that company. I don't have any other brand. And therefore, you need to pay my holidays, my social benefit, and I'm your employee. Okay, and then you have to pay tax, and the tax office may ask you to register a business and so on. So make sure to avoid that. You make sure that they are actually multi-brand and they do not only work for you, but they have several brands. That's a very important one for you to have a real sales agent contract. They take all sorts of shapes and forms. So they tend to hide. They're not always easy to find. The reason for that is that they are actually carrying different business cards, like a bit like we do at Exportia. So when you meet with them, you wouldn't know that they're a sales agent because they carry the business card of the product they come to present. Okay, so they're a bit hard to find, and then more common in certain industries and in others. So in product, in manufacturing, you will see a bit more those sales agents than in IT. In IT or in software and digital, you may find some kind of arrangement for commission on sales, but it will not be the traditional sales agent that is regional. It will be a different arrangement. But you also have people that are playing in the commission only area, more for referrals, and they are more like spotters. They're not the traditional sales agent visiting distributors and end users. They are also more common in some European countries rather than others. So for example, they're very common in Italy, in Spain, and in France, in Belgium, there's a lot of them. Sometimes in other countries, they're a bit harder to spot. If, for example, in Germany, it took me a long time before I could. So I did set up for one of my customers, which is called CleanSpace, in the respiratory protection device. So in the PPE, protective equipment, personal protective equipment. So I did set up and found my my French sales agent network quite easily. It took me a bit of time to find the right people and build the network. But for Germany, it took me a much longer time. Initially, when I talked to people about sales agents in Germany, they were like, they're not very good. They're not doing a great job. They don't have a very good reputation. But what I found is after doing some digging and knowing my market much better, I started to identify some very good sales agents. So I would say that generally speaking, they are very common in Europe, but in some countries, it'll be harder to find the good ones than in others, okay? I said before that they tend to take different shapes and form. It's just because, for example, you can sometimes find them in unexpected places. You would find them, for example, in as trainers. Sometimes they can be a trainer, and then you realize that they also are sales agents. Sometimes you find them doing some installations. I know that we have Ola today on the line, and some of our sales agents, they're doing also installation. They're doing project tendering, and then they're also sales agents. So they can always not be the traditional sales agent model. They can sometimes be different. So be open to explore in your industry what sales agents are taking. They're very common. Trade shows, they are, they often sales agents come to trade shows, they're looking for new products, or they're here to promote their product. So use trade show to ask around, do you know who are the sales agents that are present today? Because again, you might find it hard to spot them because they'll have the shirt, or they carry the business card of their client. So you may talk to them, you may not know they're a sales agent. So just use trade shows to ask around. It's also good to ask your peers and customers as well as distributors. I found for me, so trade shows are good to spot sales agents. That's no problem with that. But really, to get some good ones, I've always asked my peers. So let's say if for a given project, I'm the sales manager for a specific country, or sales director for Europe, or anything like that, what I would do is I would contact my peers. So let's say if I'm selling, let's take the example of CleanSpace again. So CleanSpace, their sales agent, while CleanSpace is selling the protective equipment for the lungs, for the respiratory protection, the sales agents are selling also glasses, protective glass goggles, they're selling protective shoes, they're selling gloves. So what I will do is I will call my peers, I will call the glove manufacturer sales director, and I say, hi, nice to see you again. I've seen you at the show last time. Are you using any sales agent? I will also call the glasses manufacturer and I say, hey, this is Christelle again. How are you? And are you using agents in such and such countries? So using your peers and building your network and relationship with them is one of the best ways to find good sales agents in Europe. So I've used that a lot. Then you can ask customers, but sometimes they would not even know that that person is a sales agent. They wouldn't even know what it is. And distributors is also a good way. Sometimes distributors tell you, they typically tell you which are the good distributors and the good sales agents and the bad one. You want a good one that really service the distributors well, and that also represents your brand well. So that's a good way. Evaluate and recruit. Make sure you evaluate and recruit your sales agent, okay? So conduct a selection before you sign them up. And what do you do to do that? you actually ask your peers. Okay, you ask the sales agents, can you please give me the names of the other brands you're representing? I'm going to call their sales director and ask for some information. Okay, so ask your peers and ask them, you've been working with that sales agent? Are they any good? Okay. If you cannot do that, then make sure that you keep the arrangement with them, the contractual arrangement, flexible to have a good exit. Okay, if you cannot do a good engagement. Timing is important when you hire a sales agent. It's better to know your market before you appoint sales agents. Because usually if you know your market, then so what happens is when you enter the market and you don't know it, the sales agents that are available will come to you and say, hey, I'm available. And usually the available ones are not the great ones, because the good ones, they're already busy, they're working and so on. So it's better that you build a bit of knowledge about the market before you recruit your sales agent. Other one is if you're new to the market and you don't know the market and it's hard for you to quickly build any knowledge about it, then appoint sales agents and give yourself some flexibility to exit. Maybe a longer trial period will help you to actually do that. Okay, give yourself some flexibility to exit and plan it in the contract. Number 8, or last plan, is how you manage your agents. So you have beautiful agents, you have one per country or you have several per country. How are you going to manage them? So remember, they're not your employees, so you can't ask them the level of reporting that you would ask from an employee. But what you can do, and I've done that with very large teams of 5 to 10 sales agents, is you just set a yearly goal. You get them together, we set a yearly goal on what we want to achieve, what type of customers we want to target, and then we try to create a team spirit. It's good for them to share experiences on the experience with your product. What will happen is, most of you are B2B, and the reality is that when you have a sales agent that is selling, so I know we have some protective clothing here. We have Mark from New Zealand. So protective clothing, oh, what am I doing? So your sales agent are gonna sell those clothing to large multinationals, large companies. Those large companies are going to have branches throughout the country. So you want your sales agent to be able to talk to each other and say, hey, I've sold to the regional branch. So maybe you can say, they've got another branch in your region. Do you want to talk to them? Just letting you know I've sold already. So create that team spirit and that exchange so that they can help each other. And then you just do a monthly catch-up on their progress, and that's it. I mean, they're usually very autonomous, very competent if you selected them well, and but so they don't require a lot of. You can't micromanage them, but you still have to manage them. Let me regroup because we already coming to question time. What are they? They're independent. They run their own business. The traditional rule is that they drive around distributors and end users to present your product. They don't only represent your product, they represent several products. Contractualizing is easy because you've got a set of rules that are usually defined by the local federation. They take all sorts of shapes and forms, so be open to it. They may do training as well, they may do servicing as well, they may do all kinds of things. How to find them? Trade shows, ask your peers, distributors are the top 3 to find them. Evaluate and recruit, do a due diligence. Again, ask your peers. Your peers will tell you if they're good ones or bad ones. Timing is important. If you don't know much about the country, give yourself some flexibility to exit of any bad sales agent. So start with them, it will get you started. Start with them, no problem. but make sure that you can exist if they don't perform. And number 8, manage your sales agent. Don't let them just running around and wait for them to perform. You need to support them too, and you need to track how they're going and set them goals. Okay, so my challenge to you today is call a distributor or a key client and ask them if they know any sales agent in a specific country. Do you know any sales agent? That's a very simple question. If you know any of your peers, ask your peer and ask for the name of the sales agent they're using. Can they do an intro for you? That's my challenge to you. And imagine if you had a team, a European sales team of sales agents that would just every single day talk about your product, introduce your product to key distributors, and spread the word about your brand. Wouldn't it be wonderful and easy and nice? I think that's a great way to accelerate sales in Europe for you. And I'm taking any question. Do we have any questions so far in the chat? I would like us to do the question time. Okay, so let me check who's asking. So Lisa, outside the standard contract amount 5 to 10, should we expect any hidden surprise or other fees in terms of other costs passed to us by the agent? To be honest, Lisa, you should not. It should only be commission only. They should pay their own travel expenses, and they should it should all be stated in the contract anyway. If you have a simple contract, some of them are just 2 pages. They're so simple. It states there that they're responsible for their own travel expenses, their own insurance, they run their own business, and they don't have any cost to pay to you. The other cost you may have is, for example, what I've done with very large network of sales agents we've set up for one of my customers. We just had that yearly get together. We pay their train, we pay their flight to get together, we pay the hotel, so that's pretty easy to do. Do you have a standard contract that you could share with us? I have to check. I can give you some points. What country would that be, Mark? Mark is asking which, because each country had their different templates. You see, the best is really to ask. I could show one to you, no problem. Yeah. Any other question? Each country have their standard templates. Yeah, the agent, yes. So we have follow up from sorry, Lisa, I didn't see the follow-up question from you. Will the public liability insurance be the responsibility of the agent too? Yes, it will be. They run their own business. They have to have their own insurance. Okay. Who does a sales agent having similar product manage selling similar product hires commission paid by supplier? Could be difficult to manage getting a fair representation. To be honest with you, Lachlan, I would avoid to have a sales agent selling exactly a similar product to yours, because it's just too distractive, and it just cuts your coverage into it just halves your coverage. You know, it's better to have a sales agent that only focuses on your product category, but then has different products. So Mark, yeah, so you would have to ask sales agents over France, Netherlands, and the UK. It's better you ask. I have I've seen some standard contracts, but my recommendation is you ask the sales. Mark, are you already talking to sales agents in Europe, or are you just preparing? Sorry, I'm just preparing. Okay, so if you're preparing, I would definitely recommend you use their contract, because their contract are quite simple, and this way you make sure you comply with the local regulation, and they're very simple. It's really about product, territory, indemnity if you stop the contract, and I can send you some guidelines. Do you expect the commission fee to be higher with a low value item or lower for a higher value item? Okay, it depends. It depends. I will tell you why. The lower value item, it depends on the volumes. So it depends on your margin, I would say. You have to have a think about, see you, Nicola. And we have a few more minutes. So basically, Lisa, you have to check what's your margin for you to be able to give a percentage. So larger capital item will have a lower percentage, and you still need to have quite some margin to be able to give a high percentage. So 5 to 10 is a general rule. For very large capital item, I would just give like around the 100K and above, or 500K, I would reduce it to 2% or so. So it would really depend on how you work and the volume of sales as well. You know, as the volume of sales are exploding, which I wish you all can have, you have to adjust maybe the percentage to make it fair. Can do sales agent warehouse stock? To be honest with you, like Glenn, it's not their job. They usually, some may have, but really being a logistics manager is really something different to being a salesperson. Ola, isn't it better for Australian companies to work under Australian legislation? You can't. You have to abide with the local rules, and you'll have nobody sign up your contract or sign up a sales agent contract. I mean, maybe you have done that with some of your sales agents, but to be honest with you, the European regulation makes it quite easy for you to sign up sales agents. So why not just follow it? I think the contracts are simple and they protect you quite well. They give you the way to exit, and that's what is important to you. Is that you exit in a fair way and you follow the rules. Okay, all right. Well, we are. It's 10 o'clock. We're sharp on time. Do we have any last question, guys, before we wrap up? You know where to find me if you have another question anyway. Do agents expect to keep reasonable agent of your stock? So Lisa, they don't hold stock. They're only here to sell. That's what they do. They just sell. They do sell, and they don't hold stock. A distributor will hold stock. Yes, they need a demo item to be able to demo your product, correct. So if you have a contract signed under Victorian law, it's fine. I mean, there's no issue with that, but if they're happy to sign it, that's okay. Most sales agents will want the standard contract of their own federation to be prevalent. They will want to sign a contract that is, to be honest, they're low risk contract. They're not very risky. They're quite standard. So I would not. I would go with the European ones. Okay, guys, I would like to let you know that on the 17th of November we have a guest. Delphine. I've been working with Delphine for a number of years. She's based in France. She's a marketer, and she's going to talk about marketing in French. And feel free to send me your questions, Lisa, Ola, if you want to have a chat. Send me your questions, and we can have a chat. I would like to thank you I'm so happy you guys are not sick of Zoom. And we still have a good attendance and interactive attendance for our Exportia Lab. So I thank you for your attendance and the exchange and your all guys being so dynamic. And if you have any questions, just send them through to my email and you will get a link to that recording. I will talk to you very soon. See you next month or chat to you before. Thanks so much. Talk to you then. Bye.